Hello guys, and welcome back to my new series on how to make a game in Unreal. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is go to add feature content pack and third person character. Just click add to project, it will be added straight away. Or if your computer is a little slow like mine, it'll be added eventually. Now, the second thing you want to do is go down to maps and modes in the project settings. Click this and you should have the third person game mode. Click on that and wait an eternity until your laptop catches up, and you should now have the default pawn class as the third person character. You can come out of project settings for now, go to the third person character blueprint and open it up. Like I said, my laptop's a bit slow, yours might be opening a bit quicker than this. There we go. I'm just going to maximize this. This is the base blueprint for the third person character. The first person character is a little bit different, but we don't need to worry about that for this tutorial. Now, the first thing we want to do is go to the functions over here and click add function. We're going to call this Decay. And we're going to add in our inputs. Now, the first input is going to be if this can decay, and this is a boolean. If you don't know what a boolean is, it's basically saying is this true or false. It's basically asking a question. That's the way it was explained to me. And the next one is going to be called the variable to decay. Now this is going to be a type float. A float is basically a decimal number. It's not a whole number, it's like a floating point. That's what it means. And this needs to be passed by reference. You'll see why in a moment. The next one is going to be, and that's the only one that needs to be passed by reference, so you can input that. The next one is going to be the minimum value. And the last one is going to be the decay step. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is drag it over here and type in branch. The branch is basically an if statement that checks, okay, is this true or false? And if it's true, go this route. If it's false, go this route. What we need to do is we need a second condition to check if this variable can decay. To do that, drag off can decay again, and type in and drag the return value of this and into the condition for the branch. An and is basically a boolean operation that says if both of these inputs are true, then return true. If neither of them are true, or either of them are false, then return false. And the second input is going to be the variable to decay if it's greater than the minimum value. And basically saying if for example, the minimum value was 0 and the variable to decay was 2, then it can still decay. If it's -1, then it can't decay, so this will just not be called. But that will never happen. It won't go below 0. We'll find out in a moment. I'll do that logic in a bit. So that's basically saying if it can decay and it's just double checking here if it can decay again, because this is basically the condition that's sparking the decay of the variable. In this tutorial it will be stamina, and if it's true then we want to grab the variable to decay, drag it over here and type in set by reference. But we'll plug that into the true, and the value is going to be the variable to decay minus the decay step. But we can't just plug this in to the value, because if it's 2 and the decay step is 5, then it will return -3. You can't have -3 stamina, so what we're going to do is we're going to drag off this and we type in clamp. And choose one for float and return that into there. The minimum value is going to be the parameter that we set over here, and the max value is going to be the variable to decay. And we're done here. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to right click on the decay function in the blueprint, my blueprint tab, and just click duplicate. We're going to call this regenerate. Now, this is going to require some switching around, but we're basically going to make this add on to the variable instead of take away. To do that, what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to drag off the variable to decay and type in plus, plug that into the value for the clamp, and plug the decay step into the other input. Get rid of the minus, and we now have this. The variable to decay is going to be our new minimum, and the minimum value is going to be the max, and I think that's it. Oh wait, no. We need to switch this to check if it's less than the min value. We're going to switch the variable names in a moment. I know it's a bit confusing. And the inputs we're going to change to, every time that there's decay we're going to switch it to regen, because I can't be asked to type in regenerate every time. And min value is going to be changed to max value. And decay step is going to be changed to regen step. Right. Compile that, and then go back to the event graph, and find some space up here, right click and type in begin play. You should have an event called begin play. If you've already got one in the scene, it should take you to that. And drag off the execution pin and type in set timer by event. Now, drag off the little red square next to the event. This is going to be a custom event, so just type that in when you drag it off. And if you didn't have a chance to name it like I did, it's fine, just go to the details tab up here. If you don't have this, just go to window and just enable it here. So I can get rid of this and then just re-enable it. Should pop right back up. This name is Decay event. I should probably make that a bit more specific to stamina decay event. And this is going to call the decay event here. Decay function. For now, we're just going to take can decay. I do realise that it does sound a bit like candy cane. I swear I'm not saying that. The variable to decay, we're going to do that now. It's going to be called stamina. If I could type it correctly, that would be really useful. That's going to be a float. Just drag that in. The min value is going to be 0, and the decay step is going to be a variable called stamina decay step. And the time here, this is very important as well, that you promote this variable, stamina decay rate. This basically says how often should this be called, and you want to make sure that you tick looping here as well. So if I compile this and set the decay rate to 2, this will call this event every 2 seconds. This will trigger this event every 2 seconds. The decay step I'm going to set to 5, and the initial stamina I'm going to set to 25. I'm going to just print string just to see if just to say that it's definitely working. Don't worry if it's not the same type, because you can convert the two automatically. I'm just going to add a rewrite node here just to make it look a bit nicer. And that should be working. Let's just quickly test that out. So the first one should be 20. That's the first string that should appear. There we go. And let's just check that it's definitely stopping when it gets to 0. Yep, that's working perfectly. Brilliant. Okay, so we just wanted the exact same, but for the regeneration of the stamina. So let's break this out here. Called set timer by event, and drag this up here. Custom event, stamina regen event, and let's call the regenerate function on that. Again, just going to tick that just for now. Stamina there, max value. I'm actually going to drag this out to a variable and call it this max stamina. And the regen step again, I'm going to drag out from back to a variable. And take looping in the timer, and the time I'm just going to again drag out, and I'm going to keep misspelling it. Why? Right. Okay. So if I just quickly bypass this, just real quick, just compile it so I can change the initials of these. Actually, let's set that to 50. The regen step, let's set that to 10. The regen rate, let's say 2 again. And don't forget to print the string out. I'm not going to bother making this look nice because we're not going to need it for very long. In the next episode I'll be showing you how to use a flashlight, and the next episode after that I'm going to be showing you how to get some UI elements going. So you can see that it's now regenerated to 50 and it's not going above that. I missed the initial 35, 45, 50, there we go. Right, so they are working. So the next step after this is to get the sprint system working and to make that link up with stamina. To do that, it's going to be quite easy, and I just need to, I know I said I wasn't going to do this, but it makes it look nice. We are actually going to need these for this episode, but I need to fix this as well, don't forget that, otherwise we won't be able to test it properly. So we now have the stamina decaying and the stamina regenerating. We just now need to sort out the booleans here. To do that, we need to go back to project settings. I'm sorry if my mouse is a bit loud, I swear I can't help it. Go to input, and you're going to add in a new action mapping. Call that whatever you want. I'm going to call mine sprint. And this little drop down here is basically the key event. So whenever you press the key or the controller button or whatever, it will spark the event, the action mapping that you just named. I'm going to set mine to left shift, and that's all we need to do in here. Come back down here and just type in the name of the action mapping that you just made. Here you go, you should see this. Now we need one more boolean, and I'm just going to call mine is running, and I'm just going to check if the stamina is, if it's greater than 0. I'm going to set this to, if it's pressed, and then it should be set to that. If it's not being pressed, then it should be set to false, so just leave it like that. Drag this back a little bit. Now, this won't affect the running on its own. We need to grab the character movement component, which you should see up here in the components tab. Drag that out and type in set max walk speed, and drag the execution pins from both of these boolean sets. What we now need to do is, and I'm just going to drag this into here because I don't really need it, drag off the max walk speed and type in select. Now what select does is it selects a value based on the index. The index for, in our case, is going to be the is running boolean. and I'm just going to drag this out a little bit further. You don't have to, I just like making mine look a little bit nicer than you in Spaghetti Junction. False is basically when they're not running. We're going to promote this to a variable, and I'm going to call mine walk speed. And the true is basically when they are sprinting. So I'm just going to promote mine to a variable. I call it sprint speed. Now, if you don't know where to find the normal walk speed, all you need to do is go to character movement, scroll down, and it should be right here. So the normal walk speed for the third person character is 600. So that's what I'm going to set my normal walk speed to. And just to test that it's working, I'm going to leave the sprint speed at 0 so the effect is really obvious. Attach the is running to the can decay for the decay function. This will basically say if it is running, then decay the stamina, and drag out is running again for the regenerate, and this time we're going to type in not and attach that to the can regenerate. Now if we compile this and go back to the main editor, it should be regenerating the stamina like it is there, and if we hold shift it should start decreasing again, and if I let go of shift then it should start regenerating again. Since it is working, I can lightly just bump up the sprint speed to I think 900, compile it again and press play again, and see the burst of speed that it's putting on. And there we go. Now you might be wondering, why are we bothering with these events and timers and all that? And to be honest, the alternative is a bit more inefficient. It's basically using the tick and sequences to do everything. I find that really hard to read and hard to understand what's going on, and I just prefer this way of doing things. The functions themselves, I do it this way because, as you'll see in the next episode when we do the flashlight, they become really handy because you can just have different variables going on using the same decay and regenerate functions without having to rewrite the same code. That's essentially what functions do. If you're entirely new to this, then yeah, that's what functions do. They just are reusable code that you can do. And if you want to organize your variables a bit more neatly, what you can do is you can go to category and just rename this to something. I'm going to call mine sprint, and it generates a new category for you. I'm just going to drag all my variables into it that are related to what we just did today. And I can just close it up and it's nice and tidy again. Right, so if you want to comment your code, all you have to do is highlight a specific region like this. If we're holding shift and just like, actually you don't even need to hold shift, you can just spot select like that. If you want to get rid of something in the selection, hold control and just click it. If you want to re-add it, just hold shift and add it back. To comment the region, just press C on your keyboard and it adds a comment box to it. And I'm just going to call this stamina regenerate. And I'm just going to come down here and do the exact same with this, except stamina decay. And you can resize the comment box however you like. That. Move it to move the entire region. And I'm just going to make mine a bit smaller. Bring it out, bring this out a bit. So yeah, there we go. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope to have the next episode out in a few days. This is a redo of my last tutorial because the audio was a bit messed up. and I hope to see you in the next episode. We'll hopefully be doing more and more advanced stuff, and if you've got any questions or suggestions for future videos, just put them down in the comments. I'll read them all and get back to you as soon as I can.